Every marriage has 3 rings. The engagement ring, the wedding ring, and the bicker ring. We're here to settle the fights that don't matter and have no winner. It's the 3 Rings Podcast with another new argument.
Welcome to another episode of the 3 Rings Podcast. My name is Phil.
I'm Lauren.
And we are...
Married?
We are married. Why'd you put a question mark at the end of that?
I didn't mean to.
The inflection was married?
I was...
I'm Ron Burgundy?
I was up talking, not asking a question. Which is not good even still, but...
No, but it felt like a question, and now I'm feeling a little bit like self-conscious over here. What did I do?
What could you possibly have to feel self-conscious about?
I don't know. Those two things don't go hand in hand with me, do they? But welcome once again to another episode of the 3 Rings Podcast, where we talk about things that, in the grand scheme of life, do not matter.
No.
But they matter a great deal.
I guess today's topic matters a little bit.
Yeah, I can see how this one is going to get a little bit deeper.
We don't have kids, though, so it's not really something that's impacting us at the moment.
Yeah, but I think it is something that, I mean, pretty much all parents have to deal with at some point, I would guess.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, our experience growing up is quite different.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's where we're drawing our inspiration from.
Today we're talking about, should children, or should, I don't know, how are we going to frame this? Should you or should your children participate in team sports versus individual hobbies? And I played 0 team sports.
I played hockey pretty much my entire life growing up. So we are on very opposite ends of the spectrum here.
I had plenty of individual hobbies, though.
Well, that's why I chose this topic to bring up, because, you know, I would say that both of us have turned out all right.
Sure.
Sure. Okay. Both of us have turned out fine.
We're productive members of society.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess that's an interesting way to put it. But sure. Yeah. But we both have turned out fine. And again, we both had very different experiences growing up.
I mean, I kind of know, but did you have any, did you really have any hobbies outside of hockey, or?
I mean, I really enjoyed music and everything. So even,
were you part of clubs at school, or?
No.
I
mean, well, the thing with hockey was, I mean, like, most sports have seasons. So it's like, you know, when you're playing football, like, it's like, okay, you have a season, and then once that's done, like, there wasn't really anything else going on.
But they condition, right? They do conditioning.
Yeah, but especially when you get to, like, high school, like, you would see a lot of kids would play multiple sports because there would be 2 different seasons that they could play.
Yeah.
So, like, they would kind of branch out that way. Hockey doesn't really have a set, like, season.
Well, they have a season. It's just you condition all year round, right?
Well, you would have, like, a main season.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, you would still have a summer league. You would still have, like, a spring league.
I guess I didn't know that.
Well, I mean, hockey, you play inside. All you need is ice. So it's not like you have to deal with weather or anything like that. Yeah. So I mean, that was always the case. So you usually had a longer season that would be, like, in the fall going through winter. And then...
So none of the kids on your team played other sports?
Some of them did. Like, some of them would take, like, summer off or like spring off, you know, because it wasn't like an official thing for the school or something. But you weren't in, like,
Spanish club?
No.
Okay.
Which is Spanish for no.
I'm just asking. Like, I guess we never really talked about that.
No.
And I mean, my situation was a little bit different because I was homeschooled. Mm-hmm. And this was, like, not when they did, like, the whole, because I guess, like, a big thing now is that you, like, they have, like, collective homeschools where you, like, essentially homeschool your kids with other kids and other moms help and stuff.
That's weird.
It wasn't, I don't know. It wasn't like that. It was, like, what you think of when you hear homeschooling.
Yeah,
and I mean,
you and your parents.
Yeah. So, like, I was a Girl Scout until I graduated high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very involved in my church youth group. And then, my sister and I started playing and writing music. So those were like my hobbies, but I didn't really, none of those things are, Girl Scouts and the youth group are, I guess, you participate with other people.
Yeah.
But most of the hobbies that I enjoyed were like arts focused and stuff that you did on your own.
Yeah.
Or with one other person, in my case, my sister.
Yeah. Well, I guess people will kind of understand that, the stance that both of us are taking on this. I'm obviously...
It's born out of experience. Yeah,
well, I'm obviously saying that I think that team sports is better for growing up in and for putting kids in. Mm-hmm. I go with the team sports route. Yeah, and I'm going the individual hobbies, even though I kind of feel like better isn't the way that I feel about this. It's just like I don't think that you should force your kid to be a part of like an athletic team. I guess I kind of get what you're saying, but also at the same time, like, I don't think that you shouldn't have them try. I think that having them try is important, but if they show zero interest in it, then like, why would you force them? Like, kids kind of naturally like lean towards something. Like, I did do like because I was homeschooled from the time I was in 8th grade until I graduated. So I stopped attending like a school with other children in the 7th grade. And I participated in like indoor hockey, or not indoor hockey, what am I saying? Indoor soccer when I was in elementary school. But like at a certain point I was just like, you know what, like I'm good. I don't need to keep doing this. I wanted to do it when I was in elementary school because that's what all of my other little friends were doing. Mm-hmm. But like after I got old enough to kind of be like, why am I doing this? I don't like it. Yeah. Why it would have been crummy for my mom to like keep being like, no, you have to do it. I guess I can kind of see that. Yeah. And my parents were like, if you commit to something, you got to stick it out, and then you don't have to do it again. But they weren't going to force me to join something. Plus, like, I was getting exposed to other sports through gym, and I just, like, my parents knew because of who I am as a person that it's just, like, sports were not going to be my thing. Well, so trying to rephrase it then, I guess for the purposes of arguing, you have to take the stance that it's better. Yeah, but, I guess in a way of rephrasing it, I think that team sports offer more in the sense of, like, what you get out of it going into society. Just go into your 3 points. Well, my main 3 points, number one, is about socialization. Yeah, socialization. Like, you get to work on your social skills, and especially when you're a kid growing up. Like, what are you trying to say about my social skills? What am I not trying to say about your social skills? That's point number one. Point number two, you learn how to work with other people. Like, it's a very big topic that I think I'm going to spend the most time on, probably. But also, the sense of community, not only for, like, the kid growing up, like, and participating, but also for parents, family, whatever, that all kind of bond together through that as well. See, and I think that you can get all of those things through other activities. It doesn't have to be sports. So my three points will be, one, not every kid is cut out for team sports, and there are other ways to be a part of quote unquote a team. Second, as far as like activities go and like fitness, the best fitness activity that you can do is, or that you can be a part of, is the one that you're going to stick to throughout your life because you enjoy it. And not every kid is going to enjoy team sports. And then, 3, there's like, there are just like a lot of downsides. There's higher injury risk in team sports versus individual sports even. It's too competitive, and team sports tend to not be very inclusive. All right. That last point I'm going to be very interested in hearing more about. Do you want me just to start? If you would like to start, you can start first. Okay. Go with the individual first.
What? The individual first. Shut up, Phil. So my first point is that kids don't have to play sports to learn how to be a part of a team. I learned how to be a part of a team through Girl Scouts, through being in my youth group. You still have collective goals that you're working towards with another team. It's just they aren't centered around a sport. So, like, through, like, selling cookies, for example, our troop would set goals. Like, we wanted to be able to go on, you know, such and such trip. So if we all were able to raise this amount of money through our cookies sales, we would get to do that. Or, you know what I mean? Like, there are other ways to be a part of a team and have collective goals and work towards something with other people without having to have, like, athletics be the thing that you're working towards.
Yeah.
Same thing with the youth group. Like, if we wanted to go on mission trips or whatever the case may be, like, we had to fundraise for those, like, together. And, like, you still work towards something with other people. You still learn how to work with other people. Plus, like, kids do stuff like group projects in school.
Yeah, but everybody hated doing group projects in school.
Yeah, I mean, but
it's the worst.
Some kids also hate sports. Like, I hated sports. Like, I did not like to play sports. It was too much pressure. Oh,
careful now.
It's my bad. It was too much pressure. I felt like I was letting other people down because I wasn't good at them. There was just not really, like, I don't have any natural talent for sports at all. Not even a little bit.
But you could make that same argument for anything else, though. Like, what if you sold the least amount of cookies in Girl Scouts?
Which I usually did, but
So why doesn't that feeling transfer over, you know, when it's...
It did, but there was, like, at least I was participating in an activity that I enjoyed. You know, kids are gonna, like, self-direct, like, their interests a little bit. Like, yeah, like, let them explore, like, athletics. But if they're not interested in team sports, then why can't they participate in something else? Like, I'm all for your kids, like, joining something. I just don't think that something has to be football, baseball, soccer, or hockey.
I think, like, while I don't disagree with that point of, like, there are other ways to, you know, kind of be part of a team and all of that, that also leaves out a big part of, like physical activity as well.
Okay, so that's my next point.
Okay.
The best fitness activity that you could be a part of is the one that you enjoy and that you'll stick to. I did not like sports, and the pressure to join a athletic team in my school was so high that it completely ruined gym class for me because I wasn't allowed to explore things other than the teams that they had to offer, other than soccer, volleyball, basketball, all of these things. As I got older, like, since you've known me, I've run on and off. Mm-hmm. So if I'd been allowed to explore, that's not a team sport. Like, that's an individual activity. So if I'd been allowed to explore, like, running, and I enjoyed it.
Track and field, you know, while they're individual events, like, you still have other people that are involved with track and field.
Yeah, but you're not, like, playing a game with other people. Like,
some
that's
of it
still,
you are, kind of.
Okay, whatever. But, like, you know, or weightlifting. Like, you know me, I love to do weightlifting. That wasn't something that I was allowed to explore because the athletics at the school were so focused on team sports that they didn't offer anything outside of that. That they didn't, because, I mean, granted, those are usually really good money makers for schools. They're good fundraisers. Yeah. But, like, if you accept that not all kids are going to be interested in playing a team sport, but allow them to explore other physical activities that they do enjoy, like, that would make a huge difference. I might have, like, stuck with a physical activity for the entirety of my life as opposed to, like, having to try out a lot of different things as an adult and figure out what I wanted to do, as opposed to being pressured to join one of 5 teams that the school offered.
Yeah, and I mean, that kind of gets into, you know, not all schools have the best funding to have multiple sports or anything like that. I mean, and that's a much bigger conversation and debate. But, you know, they stick with the things that are most popular, and I feel that, you know, are going to be most important to kids growing up.
But as a parent, like, why can't you respect what your kid is interested in? And if you have the means to like help them explore other things, like if you have the means to help kids, like I had friends growing up who did like figure skating or gymnastics. Mm-hmm. And like granted, like yes, you are a part of a larger team, but those like events depend on individual performance.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, every sport kind of depends on individual performance and to some degree.
But not in the way that, like, you understand the difference between what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but,
so, like...
Again, but that sense of, like, a team and community
yeah,
is
but,
still
like,
there,
get that... You can get that other places. You can get that through being a part of a scouting troop. You can get that through being a part of, like, if you do volunteer work or you're a part of 4-H or you're a part of like whatever the case may be. Like I just don't think you have to play a traditional team sport to get that. Like you don't have to be on a quote unquote team. You could be a part of a troop, you can be part of a group, you can be part of any of these other things and still get valuable lessons on the importance of teamwork and how to relate to other people and how to navigate conflict without having to be a part of baseball, football, hockey, soccer, softball, those types of things.
I mean, so, I feel like this is kind of like a gray area in between what we're arguing, almost.
I don't think so.
Well, I think, at least in my mind,
like, most people view scouting as a hobby, not as a team. It's not a sport. But I still learned just as many valuable lessons. I went on to be a communications major where my major was essentially group projects. Like, that's like, clearly I walked away with some valuable, like, team working skills. Like,
and same, but I played sports, so.
But we both walked away with the same thing, and I didn't have to play sports in order to get that.
Okay,
a lot of people would argue that I'm more team-oriented than you at this point in our lives anyways.
I mean, that's just because I don't like people.
Yeah, right. So...
I don't think that had anything to do with playing sports stuff.
Okay, my third point. There's like a study from the National Library of Medicine found that injury incidence in team sports was significantly higher compared with individual sports such as running or...
Well, yeah.
Oh, and they have a tendency to, like, overwork things. It's not just, like, they fell and got hurt, but it's, like, they overworked muscles or they, you know...
Yeah.
So, like, those could be dangerous.
I mean, that seems a little bit unfair, though, because when you're talking about team sports, the majority of team sports have contact. You're asking me to
argue which one's better, and I'm saying that the risk of injury with a individual hobby is significantly less. Like,
yeah. I mean, are you going to get hurt?
You didn't say to present the most fair argument. You said to come with an argument.
Okay, I'm saying, like, before you get too deep into this.
Just because it's obvious doesn't mean it's wrong.
I mean, I understand that, but, like, yeah, there's more of a chance you're going to get hurt playing football than there is of, you know, sitting at home drawing. Like, there's a much greater risk just because of the nature of it.
It doesn't make it any less of a point, though, does it? It doesn't make it any less of a mark against team sports.
It really doesn't even fit the argument. I mean, that's like saying, like, you're more likely to get hit.
You asked me to present an argument on why individual hobbies are better than team sports. This
point is just completely insane, though. That's like saying you're more likely to get hit by a car if you're standing in the street than if you're standing on the sidewalk.
If you asked me to present an argument about why it's better to stand on the sidewalk than the middle of the street, then yeah, I would bring that point up.
Yeah, you're more likely to die if you jump out of the plane than if you stay in it. Like,
if you asked me to present an argument for staying in the plane versus jumping out, these would be points that I present. So why does it matter? You did not ask me to present a fair argument. You asked me to present an argument. So you should have come prepared for me to raise this point.
Why would I even think to have this be part of the point?
Because it's the most obvious one.
You could get hurt playing a sport as opposed to doing nothing?
Not to bring it up. I'd be stupid. It would be dumb for me not to bring this point up. It's the most obvious one.
I can't even I can't
you
get
just
past
have to
this.
Buckle up and take it, bud. Like, that's how this works. Just because it's obvious doesn't mean it's wrong or insane. It just means it's obvious.
Which shouldn't play any part in this.
Continuing on. This is depending on the parents, but sometimes team sports can teach kids that, negative things about competition and about like it being too competitive. Like a lot of these activities for kids should just be because it's fun and it's good for them to be in something. And a lot of people take it way too seriously. Yeah. And that can be damaging emotionally on children. It can be damaging emotionally on children even if they don't hear it from their parents, but they hear it from somebody else's. Like
welcome to my life.
Yeah. Like nobody yelled at me about not selling enough cookies or made me feel bad about it.
I mean, I got yelled at constantly for not being good enough or being as good as I should have been.
Well, that's or what wrong. The expectation like, if you were trying as hard as you could, then that like your skill level shouldn't matter. Like your natural talent shouldn't matter. You're a child playing a game. Like
yeah, but as long growing up for most of the time, that's fine.
As long as you're trying your best, and also like we should say it wasn't your parents that were doing.
No, it was not.
No, we should also clarify that it was never your parents.
It was not my parents. It was my
shitty coaches. Yeah,
yeah.
And then okay, so the last point that I was going to make is that team sports tend to not be like as inclusive as a lot of other activities that cost less could be. Because team sports have become so expensive, it does make it harder for lower income, which often means minority households, to participate. So individual hobbies tend to be cheaper. You tend to need to buy maybe one or two things and then you're good to go. And they tend to be more inclusive. So
okay.
Are you still like mad about the like injury?
Yes, of course I
don't understand why you're mad about it.
Why wouldn't I be mad? Like that's like.
Is it wrong? Am I wrong?
No, but
then why are you mad about it?
Because it's just a like I can't even think of the word because I'm so like upset about this. But it's like it doesn't bring anything to the argument.
Is it an obvious point? Yes, it is. Is it wrong to bring it up? No, it's not because it's still a point.
But I mean, like I could have the exact same kind of an argument.
Your job at this point is to move past it and make it sound like those team sports are worth the higher injury risk. That's your job. Just because I set you up for a harder job doesn't mean it's worth being pissed about.
Well, I mean, like, I could make the argument that, like, by being in a team sport, you're more likely to be in better shape.
Go for it, then. Make it worthwhile.
But that's kind of my point.
Bring it.
Like,
just because I made your job harder for you doesn't mean you get to be upset about it.
You didn't make my job harder. That's just...
It sounds like it. That sounds like what you're saying right now.
No, it's just such it's a useless thing to throw out in this conversation.
It's not useless. It's obvious. It's not useless.
Like
that point counts for a lot.
I don't understand how that point counts. Like because
do you want your children to get hurt? No, obviously you don't. But it's your job now to make your point sound like it's worth the risk. That's your job now.
Jesus Christ.
I don't think I did anything wrong here.
I think that's just a bullshit point to bring up.
I don't think it's bullshit at all. It's obvious. It's not bullshit.
But I mean, there's injury risk in individual sports and everything.
Not as high. It said not as high. Individual sports even.
Of course not as high because the only
there's injury risk walking down the street. There's just a higher injury risk if you're playing team sports.
Yeah. But the team sports that we're mainly focusing on are contact sports.
That sounds like your problem, not mine.
Like if you want to do like one-on-one, like with wrestling or something like that.
Also high injury risk. It's a team sport.
If you're doing like individual wrestling, like one-on-one wrestling, there's still high risk for that. But like that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like the main team sports are the contact sports. So of course they're going to be higher risk.
Yes, of course there's going to be. It's your job to make it sound like it's worth the risk. That's your job.
Because all of those sports are better than sports that have no contact. I don't know what point you're going to take on this, that you could make that point. I don't know. It's your job to make it sound like it's worth the risk. Just because it's obvious doesn't mean it's bullshit. It's total bullshit. Total bullshit.
Move on.
Fine.
Start presenting your points.
Okay. Well, my first point was about socialization skills. Of course, being in a team atmosphere, you have to work on being social. You have to be part of the team. So, and with most of these, team sports, communication while playing is very important. So you have to be able to build on that. And especially when you're a lot younger and you're developing those skills, being in a team sport forces you out of, your shell and forces you to do that.
So does being in a Girl Scout troop. Like, you have to communicate with other people.
But I can't. I can't. I don't even want to keep going on. I'm so fucking pissed off about this injury.
You have to.
It's so
unless you want to.
It's so dumb.
Unless you want to lay down and just say I won.
It is so dumb. Just.
To me, it sounds like you're pissed because I made a good point.
I'm not pissed because you made a good point. I'm pissed because you made a stupid point. It's
not stupid.
I'm not even gonna do it anymore.
No, you can't rage quit. That's not fun. That's not fun. You're being a sore loser.
I'm not being a sore loser.
You are being a sore loser. What are the rest of your points?
No, all of my points you're just going to say the exact same thing, and then you're going to bring up the injury stuff again, and it's just not going to matter.
No, I'm not going to bring the injury stuff up again.
Most of what I talk about is about socialization. It's about working with others. It's about community and also the physical part of it. And
so maybe we should have had you go first.
Probably, yeah.
And that's our bad.
Well, yeah, I guess, but really it was boiling down to all of that, and it's the time that you have.
Did I sway you? Do you feel like no?
No, so I still think that team sports are great. Like when I was growing up, like would I have traded like playing hockey for something else? Probably not.
But okay,
you want to spend time with your friends. You want to spend. Yeah,
it was great for you. It wasn't great for me. I thought Girl Scouts were great. And that's okay. Like, that doesn't make one better than the other. It just makes it like worthwhile to like listen to your kids and respect their interests. That's all it is. Let them explore stuff, have them try things, encourage that. That's the most important thing. But don't make them play sports if they don't want to. If they would rather be in like orchestra. Like orchestra, you still are like kind of a part of a team.
Yeah.
Or choir. It's still a team. You're still working together. You're still having to communicate. Like, it just doesn't make team sports the be-all, end-all for that. Like, you can find that other places. You can gain valuable skills from other things.
Whatever. Wrap it up. Let's go.
Okay, all right. I feel awkward. I feel weird now. I don't want to leave it this way.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no. Oh, he's really upset. All right. Let us know what you think. If you like team sports or individual hobbies, what you were a part of when you were growing up, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at 3 Rings Pod. That's THREE Rings Pod. What are you going to say?
Nothing.
You look like you're going to say something.
Nope.
You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Share us with your friends. We would love if you would share topics that you guys are arguing about with us. And we will talk to you next week. What's our topic for next week?
It's a series.
It's a series.
It's a Would You Rather series.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I know I've asked you some of these in the past, but
yeah,
there's more, and there are more that you probably don't want to answer.
Oh, no. I don't like this for me. Don't love this journey for me. But you can listen to us next week, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening to another weekly episode of the 3 Rings Podcast. We'll be back next week with another new argument. In the meantime, follow us on all social media platforms at 3 Rings Pod. Join in the argument and tell us who's right, who's wrong, or why you have the right answer. Whatever. Just tell us stuff.